And I think there are clearly public policy reasons, despite the fact that you can legally do it. There are important public policy reasons why, even if police can do it, that it should not do it. And I think this is where I think the police chiefs of the country have been the most outspoken. I think it's quite extraordinary in the last 18 months, the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the major cities chiefs of police, these are the police chiefs of the big urban centers of the country, have come quite unanimously on this issue, that even if the law allows us to do it, it's not good public policy for us to do it. And their reasoning is actually quite simple, familiar, but quite compelling. And they're saying basically that, look, we are not really trained to do this stuff. So therefore, if you ask us to do it, we will automatically engage in racial profiling. And if we automatically engage in racial profiling, we will frequently arrest people and make unlawful arrests. And if we do unlawful arrests, then we'll be sued. And if we sued, then we'll be draining the rather limited resources of the counties and the localities if we actually have to defend those lawsuits. So I think on the public policy, the analysis of the police power here, I think it's not just the immigrant advocates, but I think the police chiefs of the country, I think, are quite unanimous on this. I think there's also an important public policy concern with respect to how people may behave in a county like Prince William County if they know that police have this now additional power. And it comes from analysis actually from police authority themselves, that if someone knows that police can now ask him or her about their immigration status, they're likely to flee. Like if you have someone for a disorderly conduct on the street, that a police officer would have right to arrest them for that. But if they know that they'll get arrested, but be also asked for their immigration status and could be turned over, they would flee. So you are also actually creating a public danger related to the new powers that police have been given. And I think that has also caused a lot of police chiefs around the country to have a pause in whether this should really become a policy or no. Let me for a minute shift out to the public benefits issue, and more glad to talk about the police stuff later on. I think we know that the welfare law of 1996 is an important frame in analyzing what localities and states can do in this area. The restrictions with respect to the undocumented, I think, are quite legal. I think most public benefits undocumented aliens can't have access to, do not have access to. There are few limits to this. We know that there are limits with respect to the public education, and there are limits with respect to the important public benefits which relate to life and safety. All I can point out to you is with respect to the specific services, county services under this resolution that undocumented are barred from. We don't frankly know today on the basis of the present law how many of them will stand test or no. I think if legal analysis on this were going to apply, it would really have to be seen as to how these laws are actually going to be applied. If they're going to be applied in racially neutral way, they probably are going to stand the test. But if they're going to be applied in racially suspect ways, and I think then we'll have a problem with respect to equal protection guarantees under our Constitution. The second thing I think to note here is that the provisions of the Welfare Reform Act of 1996 by themselves mandate that public services should be available to the undocumented for issues of life and safety. So one really has to go specifically into areas that have been prescribed here to see whether at the very end of these areas actually will have an impact on life and safety. And one can imagine that some old person sitting at home who has to have dialysis, and their life will determine on whether they have access to dialysis or no. And if this resolution says you can't give that person access to dialysis because that person is unauthorized, that may not meet the legal test. So one would really have to do this analysis by benefit by benefit. And the last thing I want to say on this is that even if it's lawful to exclude undocumented from these services, the analysis around the country is showing that issues of costs are playing a very